I was delivering and installing machines for a company I was working for. I was in a truck with 12 machines in the back, and I was having trouble with the truck the day before. I had it checked out by the rental company, and they said it was all good. Since I was behind schedule due to the truck and problems with installations, I decided to drive late to my next destination. It was about 12 o'clock at night on a state route through the Upper Peninsula. There were no street lights, there were no other cars. The headlights from my truck were the only thing illuminating the road. I was already creeped out. At the peak of feeling like I was in the middle of nowhere, because I was in fact in the middle of nowhere, every single light on the dashboard of the truck lit up, and then it stalled. And now it's pitch black. I'm stopped, and the truck isn't restarting. I shut everything down and started making phone calls. As I was calling everyone and anyone that would listen, I sat in the dark, with the only light being from my hazard lights. I looked up and saw something move in front of the truck, just out of distance of the flashing lights. At first, I thought it was my imagination. I finally got a hold of someone, and they told me it would be 2 to 3 hours before they could get a mechanic to me. So now I'm sitting in silence. The only noise is the clicking the hazard lights are making, and I'm staring out the windshield into a void of darkness when I see movement again. Just as I was about to shit my pants, my phone rang, and that nearly secured the pants shitting because it scared the hell out of me. It was a mechanic that wanted me to get out, open the hood, and check some things out. "No, I'm not getting out of the truck," I said, with an explanation as to why. He was irritated with me, but I didn't care. So finally, after seeing the movement just out of range of the lights, one more time, I threw on the headlights with the high beams. The headlights caught 3 wolves snacking on something that looked like roadkill. I honked the horn, and they looked at me like they were irritated more than scared. I was safe. The wolves, more than likely, weren't going to bother me, but it was spooky just knowing that they were there. So I shut the lights off. I would turn the lights on occasionally to check if they're still there. I was basically just sitting there listening to the hazard flashers click while surfing my phone. Each time I turned the lights on, the wolves were still there. Just to remind you, I'm in the middle of nowhere. No houses, no businesses, nothing but trees, wilderness, and wolves. I suddenly heard what I can only equate to a woman's scream of terror that sounded like it came from right behind the truck. Then something slammed into the side of the truck, hard enough to rock it. I wasn't afraid of the truck tipping over, but whatever hit it hard enough to rock the suspension enough to move me around in the cab. It was a pretty heavy truck. I turned every light that truck had on, slipped it into reverse so the reverse lights came on, and laid on the horn. I was checking both mirrors, and the only thing I saw was a shadow bolt across the road. I couldn't make out what it technically was, but in my head, it was a werewolf, yeti, Bigfoot, lizard monster that was going to end my life, and it was going to be agonizingly painful the entire time. I also noticed the wolves were gone. From every nature documentary I've watched, the only time predators leave food is when there are bigger, badder predators around. By this time, I was in full Bobby Hill, that's my purse, I don't know you mode. Whatever crossed the road didn't cross very far off the road. I could hear it thrashing around in the brush, breaking sticks and what sounded to be logs. There was no noise pollution. I only had my window cracked a little bit and I could hear pretty well. I basically had the steering wheel gripped, all the lights on, and I was feverishly looking out the windows and through the mirrors to make sure nothing was around the immediate area of the truck. I couldn't see off the road, and the flashlights I had were in the back of the truck in my tool bag. I'd have to get out of the truck to get them. Finally, I saw some headlights through one of the mirrors. It seemed like it took hours for them to close the distance to me. The noise stopped as the headlights approached. It was obviously the mechanic because no one else was stupid enough to be out there besides me. The mechanic pulled out in front of me. My headlights were shining on him and his truck. As his door opened to step out, we both hear the woman screaming in terror, yell again, and the brush thrashing intensified. Whatever it was still close and pissed. His door immediately closed, and my phone rang. He called my phone asking me what it was. He sounded more panicked than me. I had no clue what it was, and he had no clue what it was either, so the mechanic called the police. He wouldn't work on my truck until we could secure the area, which I don't blame him. He didn't like my idea of him getting out of his truck just to check things out. 2 Michigan State police officers showed up. They lit that area up like it was a stadium. I finally stepped out of the truck for the first time since it all started. We heard that scream 3 more times while the mechanic was working on my truck. Thankfully, they were getting further away. The cops had no clue what it was either. They were kind of spooked, too. The mechanic finally got my truck running, and I made it to my hotel for the night. The next morning, I walked the truck for inspection, and on the side that was hit, there was an indentation about the size of a basketball. Whatever hit it didn't hit it hard enough to push all the way through, but it did definitely mush the fiberglass. I have no idea what it was. I probably never will. I do confidently know that I will never ever drive through the Upper Peninsula at night again.